What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another bright, sunny episode of the Dirty Pool Podcast. It actually rained a whole shit ton yesterday out of nowhere in Los Angeles, which is really crazy. Speaking of my man wearing the LA hat, you know him, you love him, maybe you don't, but he makes amazing pinball content that is raw and unfiltered, and today we're going to talk about that. It's Chris Kooluris. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, you got it.
Hell yeah. What's up, man?
Or Kaneda.
Or Kaneda from Kaneda's Pinball Podcast. I assumed everybody that's watching that knows that.
I don't know. And, it is sunny here in Connecticut, so I'm excited to represent LA in Connecticut, working out of New York City. Very confusing. Hard to follow what's going on here. But how's it going? It's glad to be a member of the show.
Dude, you do not take a lot of interviews, and for you to agree to be on the podcast is it's riveting, man. Like it shook me.
Yeah, I gotta be careful. I got a reputation to uphold. Now I'll do mostly any interview. Just most people don't ask. They really if they want to fight with me about something.
Well, I'm not here to fight. I'm here to talk about the history of your channel, the 10 years or more that you have put into building a platform of talking about pinball, how you talk about pinball, the friction that may create with companies and you as an individual, where you want to take the channel, all sorts of things. And we talked a little bit about how pinball machines are sold. So I think today's going to be a pretty fascinating conversation. So fuck it, let's dive in. So first and foremost, other than Kaneda obviously being a huge Akira thing, what was the origin of you picking the name to represent the podcast? Was that the first iteration of it? Did it have, did you call it something else and then you were like, fuck it, I'm going to go back?
No. Kaneda's always been my sort of alter ego avatar name on any message board I've ever been on since maybe the mid 90s. And the reason I love Akira so much, when I was a kid, obviously the movie when it came out was just mind blowing.
It's unbelievable.
I've never seen anything like it. And then when I was in school, some of my best friends were boarding school students from Japan, and they were the nicest kids to me. And so I just always have loved Japanese culture, as you can tell. And so, I've been Kaneda on the Guns N' Roses forums, on the Dodge Demon forums, on the pinball forums. And so everywhere I go, if I'm going to be an avatar, that's the name.
Cool. So you made the podcast. When you created it, was the intention to be a destabilizing or accountability voice for the pinball community? Or did you just want to talk about pinball and over the 10 years, it just went on this wild ride?
Yeah. Well, they banned me from Pinside. So that really was just the origin of it, was getting banned from the #1 forum. And you can tell I'm someone who likes to speak and have a little bit of the gift of gab. So I didn't want to be silenced because I couldn't go on the forum. And at that time, there was maybe 3 to 4 pinball podcasts that were out there in the world. It was Nate Shivers had a show, John's Arcade. I believe Spooky had a podcast then. But there was only 4 places you could consistently go to every week to listen and hear people talk about pinball. So it was just natural, having been on the forum for so many months, if not a few years, to just get a mic and start talking. And the first episodes were terrible, though. I mean, if you go back and listen to episode 1, I couldn't even make it through the end of that.
I mean, to be fair, anybody doing something for the first time, it's going to be the rough version. You don't really discover and filter yourself into what you are until much later on. When did you see yourself and feel that you were like, oh, this is what I want to be doing with this podcast?
Sure. When I first started, I did kind of more emulate the other shows that I was listening to all the time. If you listen to my first shows, I talked a lot slower. I was more emulating Nate Shivers on Coast to Coast Pinball, just because I always had him in my head as a way to think about pinball. And then over time, I just sort of became more and more used to the stuff that I got excited by when it came to the show. And so just more entertaining, less editing, no show notes, don't really do many interviews. And then right now I'm at the happiest I've been over the entire 13 years, where every show is about 20 minutes. I just feel like
that's the sweet spot.
Yeah, it's like an episode of The Office. If you can't get entertained and hear all the pinball news in 20 minutes, and I do 2 to 3 shows a week.
Sure.
But a lot of the shows go on for a much longer time, and that's also because they have a co-host and they're going back and forth on the topics. but mine's just sort of like right at you. Here's what's happening in pinball. Here's what's happening in the community. Here's my thoughts on it. And then you're back. I want to put you back into the real world within 25 minutes.
Right.
And to me, that's the sweet spot.
So was Kaneda as a personality part? Because I know that currently when you talk about your content, right, and you're doing your shows, like you are the star with it, along with the pinball information, right? Were the early episodes just like that, or did you separate yourself from the pinball news?
Oh no, I think I was always in it, and it was even more, a little bit more strident back in the day. I used to curse on my podcast, and then one day a gentleman came up to me and said, "Hey, my kid listens with me, and could you not curse on your show?" And I haven't cursed since. And
wow.
That was maybe like 10 years ago. I used to do these Pinside Babies episodes where I would rant about people complaining about silly things on Pinside. But, for the most part, I don't think you can kind of create a fake second alter ego character and do 1,200 episodes like that. I think eventually the real you's going to come through. And I think that's why when you hear the show now, there's no Kaneda and Chris being two different people that process life differently. It's just the more entertaining way to say my name, if you will.
Sure. It's the louder version of the still person that is you. What's something that people get wrong about you think? That they just see the show and they see this person, but that's
they think I play pinball, but I don't. I think what people get wrong is just a lot of people have forged an opinion maybe many, many years ago or eons ago, and they've just held on to it. And it's interesting because I think the people that hate me the most on Pinside, I'm not going to name names, we actually think almost identically about the hobby. And
right.
It's just, so sometimes it's just like, I think people have this misconception that I'm in this to sort of be disruptive and to, like, I don't like pinball. I don't love the hobby. That's anything but the truth. I simply expect for this much money, and it's always been an expensive hobby, there to be real creativity and magic in these games. And I don't love every game. And I think that's always been a little bit of the
you also don't need to love every game, right? And I feel like it's a weird pinball curse that every game that comes out, you feel like you need to own, you feel like you gotta like have an opinion on it. And it's just like I don't watch every movie that comes out.
No. Or listen to every song.
Right.
Or drive every car. No. But with pinball, there's always this pressure to grow the hobby. We have to be positive and spread the positivity around pinball.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But games would never get better if we were always positive and positively reinforced every single pinball machine that came out. Now, what's great about pinball today is I think more so now than ever, the games are predominantly much better now consistently than they've been in a long time. Only issue is they're so much more expensive than they've been over the last 12 to 15 years I've been covering this hobby. So
do you think a lot of the newer, smaller companies have a lot to do with some of the competition of making games more creative across all the manufacturers?
I think the best creativity happening in pinball right now is happening at the boutique level. And I've been saying it for a few years. I think boutique is really, as a creator, where you'd want to be, because you can have the whole company focused and collaborating to make the game as great as possible. I still think Stern, who obviously has probably still like 75 to 80% of the market, is still building games siloed with teams where they're not cross collaborating to make, like, it's not like Elwin's walking over to Pokemon and being like, you know what, like maybe we do this. It's
right. It does seem like they're in little bubbles of development for each team.
Yeah.
So let me ask you something then. Do you think that, like, I would say it's a fair statement that the people that are working on pinball machines, myself seeing behind the curtain, like really do care about the machine and the product that they're making, right? It's more the marketing team, the people that are trying to make sure that the per game units are making money, the cost of goods, the COG's not, hitting a certain margin, right? So how does the morale of the team translate to the actual product, and how do your comments come into play with that? Real quick, before you go firing away, you talked about accountability for how much you're paying for the company. So really your criticism for a lot of this stuff is towards the marketing and money management side of the development instead of the creative side. Would you say that's true or?
No, I mean, I think I'm harsh on both fronts at times of for this much money, should there be, or should we expect this much creativity or innovation like in the product itself? What makes pinball so difficult? And I, as someone who just bought Pokemon, and we'll talk about this, which may be one of the least innovative games I've ever seen Stern release, yet is one of the most fun games to shoot because of its simplicity, yet carries a price tag that is insane for how much is actually creatively and innovatively in the game. And so that this is the rub that everybody has to deal with. So then ultimately you put all those things in your mental blender and you have to say, is it worth it to me? And that is the same relationship everybody has whenever they see any new game. Do I think that this is worth it to me? Will this bring me enough happiness and joy for this much money? Smart man over the last 4 years just waits a little bit because everything eventually, and we're seeing Pokemon do it now, everything heads south because the beginning price is so high.
That FOMO, once it runs out, you're left with a depreciating product. And it's tough to, I mean, if you're buying pinball machines hoping that they just gain in value to use them as stocks, like this is not the market for that. I mean, it's your money. I think you should be able to do whatever you want with it, but it sucks that there's people that genuinely want a game and are outclassed or outpriced from it because other people have purchased too many of them. And I've started to manipulate the environment. It's like video cards with gaming. It's just, how does a manufacturer handle that?
Yeah. Well, look, if they really wanted to end scalping, see, I don't think Chevrolet could end people adding an additional price to the hot new ZR1. I don't think Rolex could really end it on when they make 2 million watches a year. But when you're only making, 500
units, right,
of the in-demand version of the product, they simply could sell all the hard-to-get ones direct, non-transferable. That would at least stop the scalping that happens before someone even takes possession of the game who just has a spot for the game, right? So if you know that I need to mail you the Winchester and you have to like actually sign for it, you could still scalp it and then mail it to someone new, but at least you have to go through a little bit more of a laborious journey to get that money. But I would also say that I'd rather be in a pinball world in which people can scalp games for a good secondhand value, because that means the games are good and the hobby is healthy, because ain't nobody scalping bad games that nobody wants. There's a reason why.
And you can always wait to get a game at a better price. It's just a matter of time.
It is. Like people who think Winchester is always going to be 18 and Evil Dead's always going to be, it's for now. But even that's a good sign, because people seeing Winchester at 18 or Evil Dead at 18, it's good because it's going to inspire the next creative idea that isn't just the same formula, right? Of just Marvel and Dad Rock. I mean, look at Winchester. It's like if I had leaked that Winchester Mystery House was the title from Barrels of Fun a year before it came out, people would have like railed on it, been like, what are they doing?
So the surprise played well into the success of the game, for sure.
It was amazing. It's like, here we have Star Wars, one of the biggest IPs, comes out from Stern, lackluster, kind of bores people. In walks David with, this game with only 525 units. And you could tell the amount of passion that went into it. And then all of a sudden gone in 2 days. Now, Stern's still going to sell 10 times more Star Wars, but that doesn't matter. Yeah. It doesn't matter. Like, creativity and passion, it doesn't matter about the volume of it. We want to just see it.
It's also okay that a game has less in it and sells. But what you said about value, right? So how do you quantify what should Stern sell a game that has arguably less things in it, like Pokemon, like Star Wars, where the target audience is more of like an arcade setting, right? Like those games are absolutely meant for operators to a certain degree, except for people that really love Pokemon. But it's less of a creative layout.
Yeah. Yeah, the hard part with pricing, and again, I'm not internal over at Stern. We always speculate how much it costs them to make each game, what's the bomb, what's the, the margins for them. But it is crazy though when you think that Pokemon with all that IP is the same exact price as like John Wick, which is going to be the same price. This is going to be the big challenge. If Brian Eddy is working on a Dracula game that's open IP, you're going to price that at $13,000, the same price as Star Wars and Pokemon. That's the difficulty in the hobby is, these companies, like if everything is around 10 to 15 grand, okay, then you can look at each game individually and really ask, like, am I seeing like that extra innovation, that extra passion, that extra sort of effort, if you will?
If Stern breaks their pricing, though, if they start identifying games that have less in it, do you think they're shooting themselves in the foot, though?
They can't. And they'll never lower prices again, because then they'll have just a mutiny of everybody who bought at those higher prices all those years, even though those people have been absorbing significant losses over the last 4 years.
Right.
And it's tough. It's tough. I think COVID really did put pinball pricing on a level that it's still recovering from.
Sorry. I agree with you so much. It's hard to keep it inside.
Look, I will say this. We used to scalp a game that was hot. Like I scalped Ghostbusters LE and Batman LE back in the day. And when we scalped those games, you know what we got? We got 2,000 over MSRP. We put the $2,000 in the bank and we went on with our day and everybody was happy.
I see Pokemon at $30,000 to $50,000 now.
That's what would happen. If Ghostbusters LE came out today and it was 13, then you're looking at 20 on the table. And you got to remember, Ghostbusters LE, I think, was $7,500. So, you were happy if you got 9,500, someone got a game, transaction done, boom. But after COVID, the second people were spending $40,000 for a Pirates of the Caribbean CE new in box.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Wow. And waited like 10 years for wizard mode for it.
Yeah. And those games sat in boxes for a year unsold at 12.5. And so it just created it got crazy for a while. I think it's come back down. I think it is a buyer's market. There's so much good pinball out there. And if you just turn off the FOMO, who cares? Like, I don't think anyone cares anymore about LEs, to be honest. I really don't. It used to mean something.
I bought 2 because I didn't want to put the art blades in. I didn't want to put it in the sound package. I didn't want it, right? Like it was a convenience thing for the cost. And at this point, I'm just like, man, I'd rather do the work myself. It's not worth the value to me. Just a quick interjection. We are a live show. We have a bunch of interesting shout outs here. Ian from Nudge Mag wants to know, what if Count Chocula pin though from Stern? Deep thoughts.
I mean, no.
Just no. CK Liner Jr. says, if Stern offered $500 off non-licensed themes, that they would show some goodwill to buyers and people would be happy for a unique theme. Do you think that's a solution?
Yeah, maybe. I really am curious because I don't think an original theme like a Black Knight or a Dracula, I just don't think it works in their 3-tier model system. I think what they should do versus $500 off, only make one version and make it out of the gate somewhat limited. So let's just
like Bond's 60th.
Right. But again, that game, right? Look what they did. They fleeced everybody. But if Brian Eddy made only 1,500 Draculas, right? There's only one trim. Everything's got everything on it. And it's, you could, I don't like, let's say it's 10. This Bond should have been 10. Because then it's like a glorified premium. It's the price of a premium. It's an unlicensed IP. And then I think all those 1,500 owners, you'd bake in some value. It'd still be somewhat rare. And then you're on to the next game. I just think if they try to make an LE, a premium, and a pro of an original Dracula game, it's not gonna work.
Right. And now, with Jack stepping down from doing some design work, there's an opportunity for him to do some of these like limited edition release games as well. Let him explore like the kind of creative ideas that he was bringing to pinball. Like it just, yeah. Larson F1R gave a super chat. Thank you for the bucks. He says Kaneda sucks. Well, that's not very nice. I'm guessing that's one of your guys.
No. It's okay. I do suck at times.
Me too. I suck. We both suck. We suck hard, man. Like real hard, you know? So, but on top of them needing to adjust their pricing models, right? You know, you talked about like when you are critical of a company like that, what are you doing it? What's the end result here to try to get to spark a conversation, to force them to do something better, right? Like what's the end game for a commentary like that?
Yeah, I just want to see either more for the money or a better price. And I think it's just, I think everybody wants to see that. I mean, this isn't like I've come to some incredible conclusion on this, or it's very insightful. But I just think we're living in a world now where everyone's getting less for their money everywhere. Everywhere you turn, it's like your money's worth less, your dollar doesn't go as far, doesn't happen at the grocery store, doesn't happen at the gas pump, and it sure as heck doesn't happen at the pinball dealer anymore. And so as things become so much more expensive, as consumers, we always have the power, because if we don't buy, I don't think these companies are going out of business. I think they put more into the future products. And that's why I think people should keep their money in their wallet when they see something that might not be worth it. And again, everyone's going to buy what they want to, though. I don't think like if I come out and I'm poo-pooing John Wick because there's no guns on the art, that there's going to be, people are not going to buy it. Now, they didn't buy it, but for many other reasons, I think. But I do think we've seen such great progress, though, from the boutique companies. Like Spooky's a company that I've dragged Spooky over the coals over the years for what I believe to be like shortcuts or design decisions or creative ideas that weren't the best. Look at them now. They took all the feedback, not just from me, but from the community. They took all the feedback. They absorbed an artist that Stern, got rid of. They shouldn't have. Everyone loves
He's talking about Franchi, by the way, for those of you who aren't familiar with this.
Yeah, they love his artwork. So, they put all the pieces together. They saw, they listened to their own feedback that wasn't always positive, and they improved. And that's the one thing about, Stern that's got to be hard for them. Imagine having 80-something% of the market. Imagine seeing everyone start a post that's like, after Winchester came out, people are like, Stern's screwed. And George Gomez is like, I make more games between Monday and Wednesday than these guys will make all year. How am I?
It shows a disconnect of knowing like the scale that Stern manufactures their products at. I don't think they give two shits what any of these smaller companies are doing. It just doesn't affect them.
No, and George would walk over to Winchester or even a Beetlejuice and be like, if I made this, I would lose money.
Right.
Just because the way his platform and his manufacturing needs to operate, he might not be able to make money at scale putting that much in.
I've talked about this concept before on a previous podcast where like a lot of the lower, smaller, pinball companies are more like indie film companies, right? They're like indie studios. They make the weird films, like what's the one with it's like he rides a guy, he's like farting to get off an island or something. God, who's that guy you know what I'm talking about? Swiss Army Knife Man. Weird fucking movie. So the movies like this that are just like so insane that no studio would ever touch it, found an audience, they get manufactured, they get produced. Like that's kind of like what the smaller pinball companies are to me. Universal doesn't give two shits about, this tiny indie movie. Like, do you think A24 Studios is really like cutting into like massive profits coming out of Sony Pictures? No, it's just not a thing.
But it's crazy that a boutique has Beetlejuice, which Stern is definitely would have sold a lot more Beetlejuices than D&Ds or John Wicks.
Sure.
It didn't lock up Back to the Future. So some of these boutiques are locking in some pretty big banger themes, especially themes that appeal to this demographic, which is always another interesting part of this hobby.
And I think a lot of that has to do with the people that are selling the IP rights for these. They have no idea what fucking pinball is at all.
No.
So they don't know, if they didn't give it to Stern, that they're missing out on having a 4,000 unit run or a 6,000 unit run versus 500, right? They're just like, oh, it's going to be a pinball machine, whatever. And I love that because I think that allows for IPs like Beetlejuice, like you're saying, to be in the hands of a company that's going to be doing some weird shit with it just to see what the community feels about it, instead of making a game that's good but safer.
Yeah, 100%. But still passed on Back to the Future. There's a moment where like, who made that decision? I still never.
To me, that feels like they couldn't get license rights to like one of the main characters or like something important that they knew that the community wouldn't like.
It's all in there. It's in all.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind. So let's jump into leaks real quick. We'll talk about that, and then I want to jump back because we've been talking a lot about the industry instead of you, and this whole episode is really more about you. But so you are just a wizard. I think I called you a leak genie. Like, you just have an amazing ability of getting information about the pinball just behind the scenes, and it's usually right. How?
Well, because people send it to me because they don't want to be the bad guy, and they know I'll be the bad guy. Because when you leak some information, you're spoiling a company's ability to have their moment.
Sure.
Even if it's just theme. You know, I was upset with one of my fans. He's like, I knew it was Winchester for a year. And he's like, I couldn't believe it. I didn't think.
I highly doubt that, but who knows?
He's like, I didn't tell you. He's like, I didn't tell you. I'm like, first of all, don't tell me after the fact, because there's nothing I can do about it now.
The validity of that is nothing.
Now, every once in a while, like, because some of these people leave companies, they go to other companies. So I have friends that travel around the industry. So I might know stuff all of a sudden that they wouldn't tell me when they were working at the other company, but now I know some of those details. I will say it's very rare, though, that I get leaked the game itself, like the actual playfield. The one time I had some playfield pics was Deadpool before it was shown. And then I had Guns N' Roses in my phone for like a year before Eric revealed it. And I purposely never leaked that because I did feel that he should be the one who shows the world what he's been working on for a few years and not spoil that. So it but like leaking themes is like, I don't really care about that. Like, we're all talking about Sonic the Hedgehog. It's not confirmed. It is Sonic the Hedgehog. We're all talking about Back to the Future. That's not even confirmed. It is Back to the Future. Fallout, right? It's like Transformers. Like, none of these are officially confirmed. So when it comes to theme leaking, I think that's just fun. It's fun to speculate. And it also just helps the fans maybe wait to see one of those future themes. If they feel like it's coming, maybe you don't buy the thing today that's got you excited. You might wait because something might excite you even more.
Sure. You did mention that, like, the surprise of Winchester, though, was one of the reasons that it made it so successful. Is hearing the theme for those projects going to build a false narrative of what the game should be based on whoever the individual is, and kind of ruin when they actually do see the game, instead of where they would have maybe originally been excited about it? No, they've had a year to think about what Stern should have been doing. They see the game and it's the opposite.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I feel like Avatar was like that. We all knew it was Avatar. We didn't want.
Wait, which one? I'm assuming you're talking JJP, right?
Yeah. Same with Dune. Dune suffered from this. So David learned the battle.
That's a really good example.
Everybody was like, don't make Dune. Don't make. And then it was like, it's Dune, and like, we knew for so long. And that was like a interesting moment where I think David should have maybe just confirmed it earlier and brought people on board to show the cool mech and everything going into it and all the hard work and all the assets. And instead, I think he tried to do all right, not going to say anything until we pull the curtain off. And then you kind of had that underwhelming moment. Same thing happened with Elton John. Like, we just these themes that, like, the games are much better than people's prejudices against them are. Like, much better. Like, Dune is so much better. Elton John, they're so much better than all the noise of like, we don't want Elton John, we don't want Dune. And that was what the army was screaming. And so that's like, I do think sometimes with some themes where there's maybe some skepticism, it might be better to pull people into that theme on a longer release runway where you start to get people to watch the Dune movies again before you reveal, get them excited.
I know people who've bought Dune and had never seen the movie and then watched it and were like, wow, this is amazing. I also know people that bought Dune and watched the movie and was like, this movie sucks. So, I mean, your mileage may vary. In the last 10 years, let's say, right, you've seen when games released and stuff leaked before, do you think that there was a more like positive excitement about like, oh, I can't wait to play this game, versus now where it seems like, no, I would have done it differently? Like, do you think that modern pinball criticism is more like they don't wait to try the game or give it a chance. They'd rather just hate on it before it's even out.
Yeah, I think that's just like maybe 10% of the community, which are the hyper active
vocal minority, right?
Yeah, like I think people would be shocked, and I mean this, shocked, if they knew how many people buy these games that are not on Pinside, are not listening to Kaneda's Pinball Podcast and other content creators. They're not on the face. They don't care. They literally, all that paid media you see on Facebook when a new game comes out and all those dealers and distros spamming us endlessly, they're doing that not to change like Crazy Levy's mind on Pinside who hates it before it comes out. They're just doing it to introduce this new game to new people out there. And a lot of these games are bought by people that just want a game in their game room and it looks fun and they're not going to think about it. They're not going to go online and bitch about the money or the prices or how come the code's not where it needs to be. They don't even know what code is. They don't know what shooter lane wear looks like. They don't know any of this. Sure. And those people are the happiest. Yeah. They have such ignorant bliss and are just enjoying this the way it was always meant to be enjoyed. So yeah, I do think that there's a lot of vocal minority that just screams about, these games. I mean, Pokemon's going through that right now. I'm like in the owners club. I'm like, man, half these guys don't even own the game. They don't even own the game.
Pokemon's another good example with the orbit return thing. And it's like, people were freaking out about how this was like, whatever, Wallgate or whatever kind of dumb term they were going to apply to it. Like Stern wasn't going to fix that immediately on the line, right? Like, yeah. Like, do you think Stern's going to buckle down and make 6,000s of these that are fucked up and like just tell everyone to go fuck themselves? Like, of course not.
Yeah, it was weird because like this is why like every bit of communication matters in a modern world with social media and where you can take something and then make it bigger than it needs to be. So Stern's initial response, which came from a Stern customer service person, was, we're not sure the fix will be implemented in time when we start making the LEs. Like,
right. Bad email. Do not say that.
Yeah, and that's all you need to do to set off the panic that the most expensive version is going to have the issue.
Right.
My game plays fine out of the box and I'm enjoying it and haven't had a single issue. So, they're going to fix it. They're going to make it right. There's a warranty on these games. It's not a great warranty, but there is one.
True. It's just strange that that's like the narrative there. Because I mean, like, Dunes and Winchesters have issues that pop up on the forums. But the narrative there is that like their Barrels' customer service would take care of anything. And it's true. Like any small thing that you reach out to them, they work to try to get it done. Why is that not the same with Stern? Like I've reached out to Stern. I had issues. They fix stuff. It's the same thing.
Yeah, they'll take care of you. I mean, it's very rare that whenever people are like, I emailed like Spooky or JJP and never heard back. It's like, well, did you call them?
Right.
Like, every once in a while, maybe someone misses an email. And it never ceases to amaze me. Like, at what point do people give up and spend more energy going on an online slandering mission of the company versus just call them, pick up the phone. Hey, Melissa Cointaker, where's my Alice refund? She'll pick up. Like, don't go on the Pinside. Like, and these dudes.
Cointaker sucks. They stole my money.
Yeah, I love too the urgency that some guy posted about Dune, like urgent. It was like Sunday night, urgent, like urgent. Like, give the company a chance to wake up Monday morning on a normal business hour and help you fix your game.
I don't know. An email is really important when it starts with urgent in all capital letters. That's how I make sure that my emails get read.
Weird. It's like, go do something else for 12 hours and Barrels will take care of you in the morning.
It's true. So when you say things that are challenging to a company's kind of design concepts, right? Like, do you worry about damaging the relationship with them? Like, where do you want to be with pinball in the future where you feel that, like, is it going to be more difficult if you damage relationships with companies by saying something that might be true, or even worse, that isn't true?
Yeah. Well, I have a responsibility more to my fans and my listeners than I do to a pinball company. I have no monetary connection to those companies. And I know what the line is where if I say something, there's a lot of different ways you could say something to burn bridges and relationships. I sort of pride myself after all these years. I have really good relationships with Stern, Jersey Jack, Spooky, Barrels, American Pinball, now American Pinball.
Yeah, I was gonna say which logo.
About the David Fix era. I think the only like pinball manufacturer that the one that I don't really have much of a relationship, but Jerry's a nice guy, but I don't really care about multimorphic P3. I don't care about home pin. Like there's some of them out there, like Pinball Brothers. I've been ragging on Predator because I don't care. Like at some point, I'm allowed to have my favorites as well. And that's a thing is, if there's companies out there where I'm really not paying you much attention after all these years, it's not because of something I did. Trust me. Because of something they haven't done. No, and I don't talk a lot. But see, the thing is this, it's like multimorphic's a good example. Like I don't even spend much airtime because I know that there's not a lot of people that own it. There's not a lot of people. So I don't need to be a jerk and like rag on the platform. It is what it is. It's Jerry's dream. He's doubled down on it. At some point, you just don't have to keep kicking, every issue that some of these companies have. It's not for me. I wouldn't buy it. Some people love it. Others don't. But, for the most part, I have great relationships with the big companies. I know more than people know about what's coming out from these companies, and I don't break a lot of the secrets I do have with some of these manufacturers. So it's exciting.
Some of the chat is talking about how multimorphic should be given an opportunity to show off their technology. And I guess the question, I don't have a dog in this race. You talk about creativity pushing in pinball. To me, it seems like multimorphic is a pretty big step trying to do something very, very different. If that's not the creative move, what are some examples of stuff that you think is a more creative value for your money that should be in pinball?
Yeah. I mean, I've always felt multimorphic was a solution in search of a problem. And the thing is, the whole modular platform is the platform that you can buy one base unit, switch in the modular units in the back, and have a plethora of games with only having to buy one physical cabinet, right?
Sure.
So it's like, but again,
it's an interesting premise.
Right. And the dude who should own one is me. I have room for one game, one physical full-size cabinet in my house upstairs. The thing is this, the part that Jerry, if he had done market research, because he has a little bit of Steve Jobs in him, he thinks he's going to invent something that people don't know they want. But the problem is what he ran into, and I'm looking at behind you right now, people love seeing their games, even when they're not on. They love that each game in itself is a entire world of that theme. They don't want to see a big black empty screen, no artwork when the game is turned off. And they also, when you think about, here's one thing. As a marketer, Jerry, let's say I go all in on your platform and I believe in the modular system, right? They haven't even sold to customers a display case where you could store your unused modular units while they're not in the cabinet.
I mean, if you expect your customers to own more than one, that just seems like a no-brainer. Like, how could you not have some sort of storage system?
Customers have had to make them. But, when we bought Nintendo cartridges, these are like basically pinball cartridges that you're popping in and out. They sold you a way to sort of keep them all organized in a nice looking way.
Right.
And it's those little things. But look, I've said this the same thing where like Jerry could have been making millions. He knows it. Like, just make a normal pinball machine and it will sell. They've such good engineering over at Multimorphic.
For sure. Portal is pretty amazing in terms of what it can do with all of its fucking pathways and ball launches and stuff.
Look at the crane and heist. He must be looking at this. He's like, I've just put it in a normal cabinet,
Yeah.
I just don't get it. But, but in terms of your question, though, the only real innovation we still suffer not to get in 2026 is the right kind of connected internet gameplay. Like, why? Like, why can't? And I don't think the companies want it. I'll tell you why, because it will kill needing to buy more games. If the replay value is so damn enjoyable, if you're playing against your friends with the same machine, it's like I could play FIFA or Madden on Xbox, a good version of it forever, because if I can find other people online.
I think replayability is one of the most important design elements of any pinball machine.
Right. So, we still don't have in 2026 an ability to connect like 4 Ninja Turtle games. So each one of your friends is one of the Ninja Turtles. We don't have an ability to go 1v1. So So I think we might see that with Sonic. I think we might see Sonic and Tails. I think we might see head-to-head, using the camera to see who you're playing against. That stuff might happen. I just think it would add such a fun element. I mean, especially with Pokemon. I mean, if we had real connectivity, you could actually catch the Pokemon, trade them with other people that have the Pokemon machine, like put some of that in there. But other than that,
that's definitely coming. The whole like Pokédex and trading, I feel like they have to like pursue that. It's such a core fundamental thing for Pokemon fans.
Yeah, but we're hoping it comes.
Yeah.
It didn't come on launch when I wrote a check for 14,000. So that's the thing. But look, I also, if you could tell me I could have more games that are loaded and fun with no internet connectivity, I'd be fine with that, because pinball will always be an analog game. And a lot of the innovations in the tech space on the screen have taken away from the mechanical magic that was in these games. And that is apparent. And I think we're getting back to really, really interesting mechs and usages of innovation. I love.
Sure. Last 10 years have made some interesting mechs from every manufacturer almost. I feel like they're all trying to have that one like cool thing that's more interesting than every other pinball table.
Yeah. It's what makes pinball so fun. You stare down under the glass and you see something happening mechanically and you wonder, how do I get there? What does that do? We're still not as good as the Bally Williams days, but it's getting better.
Yeah, for sure. Or Gottlieb I think that like Spooky is kind of like the Gottlieb of now, right? They're just like, they'll do crazy things into the games to the point where maybe it's not fun, but it's still like they're willing to try it to see if it works. And like, you got to respect that kind of like, I don't know, ballsy innovation, even if it doesn't land.
Yeah.
How have you liked your Pokemon? I'm timid on having this conversation because I have not played enough Pokemon. We have one at Ace. I have done a little bit of the Pokemoning, but
I mean, I keep going from Guns N' Roses to Pokemon is not a fair journey, because I go from one game that didn't have any flow to a game that is so
all
flowy
flow.
and easy. It's all flow. I just played it again this morning after the kids went to daycare. We've been playing it on the weekend as a family. I really enjoy it, but it has got a lot of code needed. It's got a lot of like empty, like the 4 environments aren't represented yet. There's only a handful of things to do right now. I think so much of it is coming, but as a game now, yeah, it's pretty simple. It's pretty basic. I think what I like is it makes me seem like I'm a better player than I am. I think it's going to make everybody feel like a better pinball player than they are. I think you go from this to like Jurassic Park and you're just going to feel like you suck at pinball again.
Yeah. I had my Jurassic Park I owned for I still own it. It's at a friend's place, but the first 3 months of it, I just felt like it bent me over the table and just did its way with me. It was hard.
Yeah. But Pokemon, what I love, and you'll appreciate this from a sound perspective, and it's amazing the sound effects and the music and the call outs and even just the animations on the screen. I think it's the best usage of the big screen on a Stern ever.
Sure.
And I think they nailed all those details. I just think it needs a lot more will come. So yeah, I'm enjoying it, but I don't see a $13,000 product. I mean, the cabinet decals are annoying me because I went from those beautiful rad cows, and Barrels has the beautiful kind of rad cows. Spooky's got the butter cabinet. Seeing just the cheap sticker on a $13,000 game on the side of the cabinet, it kind of annoys me, because you can see you can't perfectly squeegee the entire decal without having, every once in a while, you see a little speck underneath it because some dust got underneath it. You're never going to see that on a rad cal or a much better decal.
Right. Well, it's a thicker piece of material, so it can cover up those textures.
That's what I'm saying. It's like for this much money, and we know Stern knows how to put better decals on the sides of its LEs, and so that's the part that just irks me. It's like 1 step forward, 2 steps back in some areas, and it's like 13 grand. Come on, it's a sticker. Just give me the better version of it.
Right. But do you think that the majority of people buying those games, other than that like 10% of people that really know pinball, would know the difference though?
If they saw it next to it, sure. there's that's it. When you walk over to a Jersey Jack or a Beetlejuice, and then you walk over to a Stern, I mean, it's getting real hard to justify that $13,000 Stern price. It's really an issue. I don't think they ever thought that Jersey Jack would get their act together and make games shoot as good as a Stern. Steve Ritchie's a huge acquisition for them.
Sure.
And I don't think they ever thought a company like Spooky would be able to design a game and make a game as beautiful and full featured as Beetlejuice. Now, again, I don't think Stern's feeling it on their bottom line at all, but it's more about the perception. And that is the issue only really on the LE models is like, it's just not worth it.
It seems like Stern's fighting more of a, like you said, a perception war than a financial battle, right? Like the more companies are doing creative stuff, and then the more Stern's like throwing a bone towards operators. Like there's nothing wrong with having a game that's simple, shoots fast, is easy for new players to pick up. Like don't buy it for your home if that's not a game you want in your home. Like, but that doesn't mean that it can't do well on location for arcades or getting kids into pinball or any of that.
They struggle with volume versus the collector community. That's what their big problem is now. See, if you're a boutique, you don't even have to think about that. Every game you make is kind of collectible by nature of it being
design,
scarce.
Or not design, but by the nature of it,
That's it. Like Stern's got to be like, oh man, how do we like differentiate enough? And then they must be looking at what's happening to their own products on the secondhand market and wondering, because I definitely think they were going to price increase by now, but they can't.
For Spike 3? There's no way.
Stuck. No.
What are your non-negotiables for modern pinball then? Like what needs to be in a game for you to be like, I'm going to put $13,000 into this?
2 flippers.
Done. Just a white wood with 2 flippers.
Yeah. I just want pop bumpers where the flippers are. For me, the non-negotiable, first and foremost, it has to look good. And I'll start there because like art should not be hard to make a game look good. Like there's just so many great artists out there. And for this much money, because you see, these things are playable works of art. So we just they should look great. The themes should be the right kind of theme for pinball. And that is just like Godfather, a good example, horrible theme for pinball.
Why is that? I'm curious. What do you think is a good theme for pinball versus a bad theme?
Something with some high energy, something where the movie itself could translate into like a pinball experience that would be fun to go through it.
Do you think Sopranos is a good theme then?
I mean, more than Godfather, because Sopranos had a lot more like campy, like sort of like dramatic mob scenes. Like Goodfellas was better than Godfather's just slow, like slow drama. I think Goodfellas and Sopranos are more high energy mafia, pieces of content. But yeah, like Shawshank Redemption, for example, like great movie.
That would not make a good pinball machine.
Pinball.
Right.
So
tiny pickaxe multi-ball.
It's just like Titanic. I mean, I've been arguing that I think actually Titanic would make a great pinball machine because of like making the whole ship as like the big like whole second half of the game would be and it leans and it'd be amazing. But yeah, so I think make it look good, pick a theme people want, and then obviously the gameplay. I've learned that gameplay does matter so much, right? And it just because gameplay is going to be why you keep it for a while. If it's not fun to shoot, and I'll use an example like Alice. Alice was a beautiful pin, Zombie Yeti's art package. Alice was visually stunning when it came out, right? Everyone saw the photos and they saw it shows the line was down the block to play it, but the gameplay is not there, right? The code's not there. So it really is a combination of amazing software and gameplay that just makes it addictive. And it is still subjective for everyone who walks up to any game. But I think that's it. Look, at my stage now in life, I'm I don't want to spend this much money on any pinball machine. I got to be honest. Like that's why for me to spend this much, it has to be something that I know is going to be like very, very special.
Yeah, you could buy 3 or 4 good 90s games like 10, 20 years ago for the same cost as like single LE or a premium. It's crazy.
So I just want a game that I can teach my family and especially Killian, because he's old enough to play on. And
happy birthday to Killian, by the way.
Thank you. He's hopefully doesn't expect these kinds of gifts every year.
Gonna get expensive.
Yeah, it's a perfect pin to teach your kid how to play pinball on. He's 5. If you're 55 and you're amazing at pinball, you're probably not going to love Pokemon. You're probably not, because you're going to be looking for a lot more in a game, and it's not a theme for you. And I totally respect that. And the thing about Stern is they make such a wide variety of games. Just allow them to have this more simple game without it making you upset. I always ask that. If you have to look at Stern in its totality of songs are their games, right? If you use Guns N' Roses as an example, like they've got all their bangers that they can fill the stadium with. Stern has those. But every once in a while, they're going to make a slow 10-minute ballad song. It doesn't mean they now suck, that they've lost their edge. It's just variety is the spice of pinball life.
True. The narrative that Stern is like unable to make a good game anymore or something like that has been generating is just like ridiculous. It's got to go. You're looking at 5 teams of like the most talented like legacy individuals that have been making games and or new people that they've brought in that are, whether they're programmers or designers, like, I don't know. I think that's stupid. I think this whole brand like affiliation in terms of like loving one company versus another is silly. I think it should be literally just about the game. Like the game is really the product. It doesn't matter where it comes from. So
yeah, I think there's a lot more. There's less of that now than there was like a few years ago. I think there's a lot more acceptance of what everyone's bringing to market than there used to be.
What's a trend you've seen in your community that has been like, that stood out over like your 10 years of this? Like, have you seen how do people share pinball in a different way now versus 10 years ago?
Oh, it's a good question. I don't think too much has changed in terms of like people sharing their unfiltered opinions about every game. There definitely are still the trolls of each company. See, the thing about my chat that's on my Patreon that's interesting is it's got this mixture of people that are open-minded and then people who just like slam everything JJP does.
Everything. A mix of open-minded and little trolls. Excellent.
Yeah, like the minds were made up before they even see anything coming from any of these organizations, and it's almost just entertaining to listen to people be so close-minded. And there's almost an entertainment in trying to change someone's mind who is like that, because the topic is it's so harmless. It's pinball.
Dude, you nailed it. You see people get so worked up over this, and it's like, it's comedy. It's like, why, what are you defending? Like, you're defending an entertainment hobby. Like,
yeah. Well, I've always said that, like, people sometimes act like they're investors in these organizations and they have something at stake. They literally have nothing at stake. And unless they're a dealer or a distro who's got unsold inventory, you shouldn't be so upset. Like, this isn't a cancer treatment drug that you need to survive. Like, no one's putting a gun to your head saying you have to buy this game, like this game, or anything. Like, same thing with all the content creators. Like, nobody's making anyone listen to anybody. Nobody's making you buy any game. Like, it's a beautiful community because you can opt in and you can get out of it what you bring to it. And I think that's what I love about pinball, and the fact that there's not too much product. So for us content creators, we can cover an industry that only has like 10 new items a year.
Yeah. What other industry has such a limited amount of new releases? I mean, I guess car companies, but like,
No, not even. There's like way more cars coming out every year. There's way more car companies. There's way more, like, watches I can't even get my head around how many new watches come out every single like month or week.
Right. So it's such a limited amount of product from a hobby.
Yeah. Right. So that's what's fun, is you can kind of be an expert on pinball once you get into it. In just a few months, you'll know all you need to know about who's who, what are they making, what's their platform, What are the rumors about what's coming around the corner? Like you can get caught up to speed,
which is fun. It's kind of like getting into I don't know, like I don't really follow sports, but like it is kind of like absorbing into a sports team and learning about what that is and the experience of knowing who's who in the zoo. Like it's intoxicating.
Yeah, I love it.
I know you do, and I appreciate your polarity. I mean, you really are the counterculture opinion for a lot of stuff. But I think that there's a necessary presence for someone who's not afraid to piss off people and say stuff that is going to rattle some bones. But you do say things pretty aggressively.
I mean, yeah. I will say, there's never been a moment where like if I've been too aggressive or too hateful where I've felt good about it. I mean, I think I'm the champion of deleting the most amount of my own content too in the pinball content space.
It just shows you're passionate because you do first and then not think about it, but you'll reflect, You know
what's funny is when people get mad about that, you're not allowed to delete it. Like, okay, like first of all,
it's your post.
It's my post. It's my page. And maybe I've changed my mind. That's the other part is people can change their minds. They can go from thinking this sucks to now this game has evolved and now I like it. And you're allowed to have a moment in which you reflect and have a different perspective on something. But
what's a game you think was just awful when it came out and you reflected or went back on it and it was like, okay,
I mean, Batman 66 was awful for everybody, and that became an amazing game when
that's like one of my favorite Gomez games for sure, and Franchi's first artwork.
Yeah, it was, and which he did in like 2 weeks. I'm trying to think of like more recent. I know the one behind you. People say a lot about James Bond. Sort of came out right. It was like a little skeleton of a game, and then it like really, really like the code brought it to life. I would say like. It's hard because I usually don't play games like early on. I usually try to wait till the code is done. But I think Dune is one that continues to like, the more I see the code going into it, I think there's so much more game there. Like, I mean, I did.
I'm going to get flack for that. You got to pick a non-barrels of fun game.
It's interesting. So like, I mean, nobody made more fun of Dune launching when it did the way he did it. It wasn't ready. He was nervous about the competition. The game wasn't ready.
Oh, I know. I was watching your content.
No, but even to the point where like now I'm like, look, like when all is said and done and everything makes its way into it, good luck finding one. You're not gonna. Yeah. That's what happens, and these cycles happen. And I do think it's interesting that all these products come out so unfinished is they're naming to the point of like, name me another industry where like they can release completely unfinished products for such a long period of time and charge this much money. You'd be hard pressed. I mean,
video games is like the only thing I can think of.
Bucks though, but a $60 video game unfinished.
Right. Oops. I don't. Right. Like it's like buying lunch and for the family or something. Oops. It's not $13,000.
Yeah. So. But for the most part, a lot of these companies are getting better at release code. Sonic's going to be pretty code complete. I think Transformers is going to be pretty far along. I think Fallout.
I'm looking forward to seeing Transformers and Fallout. I think Stern's going to have a really banger of an end of the year. Like they did the community or the arcade and operator fan service at the beginning with Star Wars and Pokemon. But now I feel like the creative titles are coming towards the end of the year. But
so I've heard from someone over there that I know well, and he's like, just the next two are gonna.
George Gomez, right? George Gomez is like, Kaneda, let me tell you.
And like, I trust this person because this person's very like honest about when Stern does have a hit and when they don't. And they were like, Transformers, the next two stuff. They can't tell me the titles, but they'll be like, the next two coming are going to be bangers. So,
well, I hope that's true. Yeah, me too. I mean, that's part of the fun of the hobby, right? Is the build up to the reveal, the game coming out, first time you can find it, whether it's on location or going to a media event or whatever. Like, the pinball community is awesome when it's at its like best.
It's more fun to cover great games like this.
Yeah,
I think certain people think that I thrive off of like negativity. It's not true at all. I get more subscribers, more listeners when I'm positive. When the games are good, more people come to my show to hear not just my thoughts on it, but to share their enthusiasm for it. If we just kept getting like John Wick and avatars, like I would lose 100 subscribers.
I like Avatar. I'm in the minority.
I mean, those lower play fields, man. Like what? Who tested those? And I just saw that Mark announced that Pintastic that he scrubbed his first whitewood and started over again, and now it's much better. It's like good. Because I walked up to the whitewood on Avatar and been like, "Yo, man,
we gotta talk here. We gotta talk about the crab."
These lower, like, yeah, like I don't know.
Fair enough.
Beautiful game, but like a little soulless. Like there's too much going on that you just can't connect with, and nobody's
as a first offering of Mark, because Mark Seiden came from doing, I believe, Metroid was his like homebrew, which was what got him onto JJP's roster. As a first game, how would you rate it? Like knowing that this was this person's entrance into the pinball world.
Yeah, no, I just feel bad I feel bad. I think the theme was destined to fail to begin with, because I just think Avatar culturally, like people are just so exhausted by it.
That's so true.
Has anyone even seen the last movie? Like I haven't even spoken or like heard someone speak of it, like anywhere. Like no one's been like, yo, bro, like never. Like,
I mean, it's made billions of dollars, so someone's clearly watching it, but yeah.
Yeah, but you know, I think as a first offering, I'm trying to think like, I don't know, I think Avatar was a pretty empty game. And what I mean by that is I don't know. It's based mostly on Avatar, the sequel, right? The Way of Water, but it's not called that. Like it's this weird sort of like the first two films mixed together. There just isn't a moment in it where like it does something wow. And I think Jersey Jack game should always have a wow factor above and beyond. And look,
that's like JJP's kind of MO is the flashiness of it. And I mean, I almost mean that literally with their RGB, but you know, there's a production quality vibe to their games, whether it be their animation, their, you know, art packages, they're expensive games for a reason.
The UV lighting on Avatar was like that was like the biggest marketing joke, right? The gimmick.
Yeah,
like,
you could barely see it.
It to work. It couldn't get to work. And once you saw like they had to bring in extra UV lighting during the marketing materials to make it look more impactful. And again, that whole UV thing has been tried so many times in pinball unsuccessfully. And it's just, I think there should have been more like of a hallelujah floating upper playfield mountain sort of vibe going on. Like
it worked. The Stranger Things edition kit made it work well. That's impressive. When you flip to the upside down and the entire playfield is like neon purple. Like that's the one that worked.
That is one of the greatest wow moments in like the last 6-7 years of pinball, right?
Yeah.
That more games need like a transformative moment that really like stops you in your tracks. Like, wow, like look at it do that. I mean, I would even argue like Potter, the rotating staircase is cool. Potter shoots amazing, but as a magical pin, I still say like, where is the magical moment where like the ball does something that just blows you away.
Right. So that's the Kaneda. The Kaneda metric for a game that's like special needs to have a mind-blowing pinball moment.
Well, and that's why I'm a perpetual hypocrite and I contradict myself because I own Pokemon.
Well, not every game needs it, but if a game is going to be a permanent game, let's say that maybe.
The Meow with Balloon, man, that's the greatest mech of our time. But look, there should be something. The hard part is this, and we all know the reason why, because complex stuff breaks, and it's not easy. And again, Bally Williams was a whole different like monster. They were a mechanical engineering monster, that company, and none of the modern companies are on that same level.
Sure, but this is where the cyclical issue of pinball criticism, I think, is causing issues because people love to bag on games that have problems. So how are you going to put a mech that has more complexity in it, more risk of having problems, and then risk getting, you know, criticized by the community for having something that's breaking? Like it's a catch-22.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And if you're a manufacturer, you're just gonna, if I can sell this without putting nearly as much, headache in my company, I'm gonna do it. Like,
Right.
and we'll see how much we can get away with before they stop buying. So, I mean, a lot of these companies have simplified the offering, but the boutiques haven't. The boutiques are really loading them up. That's exciting, and I think we're gonna just see more of that. And it's a really gonna be, I think it's gonna be the best year in pinball we've seen in like a decade. It's just beginning. Get ready. There's so much coming.
We just got to lower the prices a little bit and then let the pins flow, right?
Yeah, you got to find a way to make more money. That's the thing.
That's true. That would also circumvent that issue.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right. Well, chat, Senator, I've eaten up over an hour of your time. Kaneda, I just want to say again, thank you so much for coming on here, sharing your thoughts. I know we got a little derailed talking about you as an individual and got into what pinball needs, but honestly, both important conversations. And yeah, man, I just appreciate you having it with me.
Yeah, awesome. And thank you for bringing your incredible musical talents to pinball. It is exciting, and I think I've heard nothing but amazing things around the sound package for Winchester. Right? What else?
Thank you, man.
Have you worked on? Because
I've done audio design on Labyrinth
Dune.
now, all the audio design on Dune, and I did the entire music and audio package on Winchester. And I've helped a few homebrewers with some stuff that's coming out soon that I can't wait for people to see. Because then I get to do some really weird soundtrack stuff.
Yeah, and what's coming out after Winchester, right?
Yeah, Raven 2000. It's like Black Knight 2000, but with Raven.
Is it?
No.
I'm gonna ask you, like, is it Never Ending Story?
Is it Never Ending Story? You're gonna have to ask David. You're gonna have to milk him for all that sweet info.
He keeps saying, like, I've never seen the movie. I think he's lying.
David said that at TPF that the IP is something that every single person knows, and I would say that that's probably true.
Okay, that's good. I'm excited. Well, look, thank you so much for having me on, and we'll do this anytime you want. This was fun.
Sweet, man. I would love to have you back on. Appreciate that. Chad, this is your last chance. If you want to give Chris any kind of questions, you want to shout out. I know a lot of the commentary in the chat weren't really questions. It was just sparking community debate about just what we were talking about, which I think is neat. It's a welcome change from what we normally do. Like normally chat's like, ask this, ask that. But instead they were just flowing along with us while we're talking shit.
Cool.
Yeah. Johnny Two Slap says Weekend at Bernie's is the next Barrels of Fun game. Maybe.
That's it.
Maybe. It's the most popular pinball title on the planet. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, you know what we do? We go try to find a channel and rate it and drop some pinball followers on there to keep the flow going. So we're going to go do that. We're going to go raid somebody and give them some pinball followers. In the meantime, if you don't already follow or are on Kaneda's Patreon, like I feel like I shouldn't have to plug one of the most famous pinfluencers in pinball, but here we are. Please go check out Chris's stuff. You can watch it on Facebook for free if you catch it. He does his live broadcasts on there. You can also be part of the Patreon if you want to help contribute to that and keep the unfiltered commentary flowing. Yeah. Chris.
Awesome.
I'll praise the Great Pyramid.
Yeah.
Amazing. Have a good one, everybody.
Does your life lack purpose? Have you wondered if there's anything more? Join the cult of pinball. The Great Pyramid accepts all into the cult of the Great Order. I'm Dr. Cornelius Biggostein, imperturber and acolyte of the Great Pyramid.
Join us on an ever-ending quest
to spread the joy of pinball. Have you just received your Great Pyramid creation kit?